Hello everyone, good to come to you again. It's been a while since I've made a video, but I wanted to make this one here for you. This is a new guitar that I'm working on. This is a OM model, but it's a falcate brace model, and it's going to have a live back. And when I discuss a live back, let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So typically with your bracing pattern in your backs, you're going to have what we call a ladder bracing. And so you get your horizontal braces glued in, and then that basically is it. I mean, you carve them down, you know, make them look good and all like that. But in this scenario here, what I'm doing is creating what we call a live back. And the idea with the live back is that we shape and steeple the braces, but then typically, whereas this would be reflective, instead of having it just being reflective, now this is going to become an active part of producing the sound. And so this is a little bit different from the other ones that I've been doing recently. But I wanted to go ahead and show you a little bit about the actual carving of the braces and how we do that. So let me draw a few things on here for you. So typically what we do is on the edge of the brace, we'll start off by drawing about a 2 mil space there at the edge. And that will become the height of our brace once we've done the scalloping. And so you'll see the little mark that I've drawn right there all along through those braces. So that'll be the height of the brace at that point. But that height of that brace is going to be there because we're going to scallop the brace. And that's going to be the finish height. So think about it like this, because we're doing a little bit of forward thinking here. When you get your sides glued to your back and your top, one of the things that we think about is the thickness of the side, the internal lining, and then we also want to think about the binding that goes on the outside of the guitar. Typically it's a various color, usually white or black, or sometimes folks will put in their own binding that's a hardwood binding or something of that nature, maple or ebony or various other, maybe rosewood or something like that. So typically those rosewood bindings or ebony bindings, maple bindings, they're about 6 mils tall. Our back here is about 2.5 mil. So by the time you figure, okay, the back is 2.5 plus another 2 mils, that makes it 4.5. So whenever we cut our channel where our binding gets glued on, that channel is going to be about 6, maybe 6.5 mils deep on that side. And we do that so that we can tie the side to the internal lining, then also to the top and the edge of that top or the back. It's a very fragile thing because you have your wood grain lines running straight through, and so because of the wood grain running straight through, what we find then is if something was to bump the end of that wood grain, the chance is that we create a split right the way through. And so the binding, it makes that so that it's much stronger around the edge, much less likely to crack and go all the way through if the guitar gets a jolt or a bump or gets dropped or something of that nature. So that's the idea behind doing those bindings. So to get that right, we've got to get these down to about 2 mils. These braces, we're going to shave those down to about 2 mils. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just let you watch me do some carving, and that way you can kind of see what the end result is, what we're looking for, etc. So This is just some back brace carving 101. Okay, so at this point, I'm just gonna stop doing so much talking and let you watch the carving process commence. Okay, so let me get this camera set, and once I get it set where I need it, then I'll get to going. So bear with me, but I think you should be able to see pretty much just about exactly what I'm doing. So one of the things I'm going to do first, I'm going to start off with marking a center line on my brace. Now these back braces are about 16 mils tall. Okay, and something to remember about the back brace being 16 mils tall, that 16 mils is measured in the dead center of the brace. And the reason we do that is because these braces have a 5-meter radius on the back of that guitar. And so we have a dish shape, okay, that we're keeping. So we want the highest point to be dead center, okay? So let me get my chisel. This is one of the tools that I love using the most. One is going to be a really nice chisel. The other one is going to be this little block plane. Now this thing, it's one of the tools I use the most, and it's a great tool. Then I've got some 2 cherry chisels that are really nice and sharp. But one of the things I like to use, especially when I'm doing brace carving, is this particular chisel, and you'll notice that it has a bevel blade. So you'll notice a curved blade there. And this is going to be really great whenever it comes to scalloping the ends, as well as doing some of the shaping. So let me get into the shaping and just go ahead and show you how it's done. This is one of my favorite parts, so you might enjoy it as well. So here we go. So I'm just going to take and begin creating kind of like a barn shape, but more, well, not so much barn, but maybe more like an A-frame shape on these braces. Now, for someone maybe who hasn't done it very much, let me just do this really fast because this will come in handy for you if you're doing this at home. We want to protect the back of the guitar. One of the great ways of doing that is just by going ahead and putting down some masking tape. All right, and that masking tape is just going to protect your top from gouges or something like that if you don't have very much control when you're using the chisel. And so doing a double layer of the tape is important. Okay, so I'd encourage you to use a double layer, something that's really nice, that's going to stick well, and going to have a clean release. It's important that you get something that has clean release. And then do both sides, because we'll be working on both sides. And just do that to protect your top, your back or your top, either one. Whenever you're doing your brace carving on your back or your top, I would suggest using some good masking tape, nice wide masking tape like this. Some people, what they do is they get a ruler. Pardon me, I've just had a bit of a cold, so anyway, some people get a ruler and they have a ruler kind of like this. They set it on the side, tape it down on the outside, and it provides a really hard surface that will keep you from gouging your back. Personally, I don't do that very often. One, because I don't want to have a sacrificial ruler, and two, I've gotten to a stage now whenever I'm doing bracing that typically I wouldn't even put the tape down. That's just for your benefit on the video. So anyway, here we go. So let me see if I can show you this just kind of peeling off like that. Now what we've done is we've created a facet. All right. And in creating this facet, what we're doing is we're removing weight from the guitar. I want you to look at the end of this and you'll see the way that that is being shaped there. So there's two faces to this brace at the moment. And what we're trying to do is trying to extend this line from being here in the top and the center as far down as we can get it closer to the marriage strip here in the back. And that just comes by changing the angle of the plane as we push it along. And notice each time I change the angle of the plane, the shaving becomes very, very thin. And it's because we're taking off that one little section of timber. So basically what I want to do is I want to match that up to the top. And it's possible that you take a bit more off one side or the other, depending on what all is left to be done. Once you get it really close like that, then you can turn it the other direction and begin going the other way. I will say this, when you are doing this, be careful of what you leave on your bench, right? So all of this stuff here, that's great, you know, that's very soft. It's not gonna do too much, but what you can wind up doing is as you're carving your braces, you can wind up having too much wood on the bench, and then you press that on the back of your guitar or on the top and create a dent. So just be aware of that. Keep your bench clean. It'll just help out in the long run. Now, one of the things I would encourage you to do is when you get it close, as I have here, I want you to check the steeple that you've left and just to see if that steeple has something that, you know, I think a bit more needs to come off of this side than what we had off of this side. I got this side a little bit closer down to the back than I did on this side. Now, some of you might be saying, but aren't we losing strength because we're taking away that much material? But the fact is that because of how we use our braces, and we're using braces that the wood has been quarter sawn, the strength of the brace actually comes from the height, not the width, okay? So what we can do then is we can take away some of this width, which removes material, which lightens the guitar, which in turn makes the guitar a lighter guitar, and it also affects the sound in that it allows it to flex a little bit more while retaining the strength of the height of the brace. I'm going to go just a bit more on this one here, taking a little bit more off of this other side, just to make sure that we get this a really good steeple going both ways. And now comes my favorite part, and that is the shaping and scalloping of the brace. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be working off of center approximately. And what I'm going to be doing here is working off of this. We're going to come out to about 80 mils from the center line. All right, I'm marking that as center. Now, I know that maybe for some of you that haven't done this very much, you sit there and you go, oh, how can you do that without actually measuring? And quite honestly, I've done this enough and kind of trained my eye enough so that most of the time I can get pretty close within a half a mil of being dead on center line. Now, what I want to show you is the process of scalloping out the end of the brace. One of my favorite parts. Here you go. Now, if you were watching, you would have noticed that when I make this scallop in this brace, what I'm doing here is I'm turning the chisel over like this, which has the beveled edge facing down, so that whenever I make the cut, by the time I get down here, all I have to do is basically pry it like that, and the end of that brace just wants to come off so quickly. And it's a quick process, and I really enjoy it. If I could do anything on guitars all day long, this would probably be the one thing that I say, yeah, I could do that a lot. Okay, so that has us really close as far as where we need to be, and I'll sand the rest of that in. Maybe take a few more little pieces here and there off just to make sure I get the steeple on this brace exactly where I want it. One of the things that you can do at home is you can, if you're wanting to do something of this nature, you can make yourself a nice little sanding block, and I'll get that right now. So I've got a couple of them. This one here is a steeple brace sander. Okay, so you'll see that I've got tape on the inside. Now that tape, I've just put some double-sided tape in there, then put those strips on and then stuck them on there like that. Works really well. I've also got another one. This one doesn't have any tape on it yet on the inside here, but what I've done is I've just double-sided taped some some sandpaper on this back side there, and I use that really nicely sometimes just to sand the sides of the braces. And what this does is it lets me just change the angle that I'm using the sandpaper on to really refine my braces as I need to. All right, and you just take away any ridges or anything like that that isn't flowing naturally and that doesn't look right. I don't know exactly how to say that to you, but I still remember in wood class one time, they were teaching us how to carve a duck. And I was asking the teacher about it, and he said, just take away anything that doesn't look like a duck. And that confused me for a long time, and now I guess I say to you, just take away anything that doesn't look like it should be a brace. So we just want to clean that up nicely. And we might do a little bit more sanding on that at some stage, but that is the brace. Now, I do want to show you one other thing. Notice whenever I peel off this paper here, or the tape, so the wood grain is running this direction. And when I peel off the tape, I want to peel it so that it's coming at least at a 45-degree angle. Right now I'm going at about a 90-degree angle to this. You say, why do you do that? Well, the reason is because sometimes the wood grain wants to stick to the tape, and if the wood grain is running this direction and you peel that tape this way like that, you'll peel the wood grain away and wind up with a great big divot in the sides of your guitar, or the back or the top. So by swapping and doing it on an angle, you save yourself so much trouble later on down the line. Okay. And you can reuse the tape, right? It's just a simple thing. Just reset it however it's going to work the best for you. Let me get this side here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can see little dark lines on the tape. And what that is all the little bits of wood grain that have been pulled out of the back and are now stuck to the piece of tape. So another quick little trick, if you want low tack tape and you don't want to spend big bucks on it, just stick it to your shirt. All of a sudden you've got low tack tape. All right. And we go for the same process once again. I'm going to go ahead and draw my center line. Just helps me to stay even all the way through. I'm going to go ahead and do that on this back one down here as well. So these braces are 10 mils wide, 16 mils tall, okay? And it's a little bit harder to work in and around some of these smaller ones here. All right, so what I'm going to do is before I get into this too much more, I'm going to go ahead and work on these smaller ones here. These are going to have some scallops. Again, we're going to set it at about 2.5, 3 mils. Okay, but on these, because I'm having to do what I want to do here, I've got a great ruler from Stumac. This is a centering ruler, and what you see here is that it's got a 0 in the center, and then as you go out, it centers itself. It's got a ruler going this way and a ruler going that way. Really easy to find center on things. You just set it up like this, position it so you have an even measurement on either side, and there you have center. Now for these braces, either side of center, we're going to mark 5 mils because we want this top area right here to be 10 mils wide. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark these out. And these little braces here are about 100 mils long, and they are set at a 40-degree angle to the center line. Okay, so a 40-degree angle to the center line, and That's how we get the angle. So on these, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to carve the scallop in them first, because they have a rather large scallop that needs to take place. And then, being as there's not that much material on this brace, then I'm going to steeple it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the scallop. Now, as you can see, that brace has a very steep scallop to it. Okay, and now I'm going to just go ahead and steeple this brace. So, as you can see, when you scallop it away like that first, especially on these smaller ones, there's not a whole lot that you have to do to get it steepled, because you don't have a lot of material that you have to take away. So it's very easy to go ahead and steeple it after the fact. Now I'm going to test this to see that the height is right. That's got us perfect on the height. So now I'm just going to bring that steeple just back slightly. Do that on both sides here. Make sure I stay even. just a little bit of sanding. I'll do a little bit more sanding on that one, but that is what that brace is going to look like when it's all said and done. All right, let's get on to some of these others here. Time to empty some of the wood chips into my wood chip bucket, which is great for fire starter, by the way. If you want to do a outside fire, there's nothing better than using some kindling created from your wood chips from your carving. And for this reason, this is feeling slightly dull, so I'm going to sharpen this up just quickly. Sharp chisels are very vital to anyone doing any kind of woodworking. But one thing to remember, especially whenever you are doing scalloping and bracing and things like that, is the material that you use, it's possible that it's not going to all cut the same. Some of it may be a little bit more dense, and so it'll carve probably a little different from others. So just bear that in mind, because that all comes into play whenever you're tuning it and getting it ready. So now, this particular guitar here is another piece of Chechen. Now, for those of you that have followed any of my videos, you remember the other guitar that I've done that had Chechen, and I must say that that particular guitar, it is the best sounding guitar I've ever made. It's amazing. Yeah, it's made out of Chechen as well. For the back and the sides. With a redwood top. Great. Okay. So that's got the scallop done, and now just time to steeple this brace. Now, this is kind of an important thing. One of the things you're going to realize as you do wood is that sometimes wood wants to cut a certain way, in a certain direction. And especially on this one, you'll see how this one here started peeling and started going farther into the brace than I wanted it to do. So I stopped that. I'm going to come back this other direction now, and you'll find that it peels much easier the other direction. It carves right off of there, almost like peeling a potato. And so you're able to take those layers off a lot easier. And there you go. So you can see this way it's carving it nicely. This way it's like breaking the fibers and trying to break it out. We didn't want to break it out of there as much as cutting it out. And that's simply because of the way that it's growing, or the way that it grew. And so you have to be aware of that as you're doing this, because you know the wood's going to talk to you while you're working on it, and so you've got to be aware of what you're doing there, and just watch that. Otherwise you're going to have some really massive tear out that happens, and it's not going to be good. All right. Take this side down now. Be careful. If you have a sharp chisel and you're not using it right, you probably will cut yourself seriously, so be aware of that. I'm going to take that down to height now. Overall height on this one, I'm going for 15 mils. And I'm sitting at about 17.5 at the moment. So I'm going to take that right on down. And I should be just about there. A little bit further. There we go, right at 15. Now I'm going to thin that out just a slight bit more. refine these scallops slightly. Bit of sanding now. On this one with my center line, I'm going to go 75 mils from the center to start my scallop. The reason why it's moved back slightly is because we've gone from the upper bout, which is slightly wider. Now we're into the waist area and just beyond the waist. So I'm going to bring that in closer to the center from the end of the scallop. That's got our scallops looking pretty good. All right, a little sanding. That's beautiful. And once again, we're going to peel that tape off carefully. Just coming to say good day to me. One of the things I love being able to work at a home shop like that and get to spend a little bit more time with family, which is nice. Come ask you whenever they have trouble with math or whatever else the case might be. So I'm just gonna cut around those braces there, get that tape down. Now, as you'll see, it's not quite wide enough, but it's the area that I'm most worried about is now covered, so that's the good thing there. So you still have to be aware. Notice, I want to show you this real fast. Notice this area here. That's wood grain that has peeled up off of this marriage strip. This marriage strip is made out of what we call King Billy pine or King William pine. That's a wood that we find here in Australia. It's very hard to come by, and but I'll say this, it makes excellent soundboards. So if you could ever get your hands on some, I would encourage you to do so, especially if you're a builder, because this stuff, it has some great tonal qualities, and you're gonna love the way that your guitar sounds if you've got it made out of King Billy, that's for sure. I know some people would go, oh, pine, how would you use pine? But this stuff is great. It's got a really resonant tone to it. and it's all old growth. They used to make it out of make boats and things like that out of the King Billy pine. And so everything today, if you can get it, it's all salvage, which means it's very old and very dry, perfect for using or for making guitars with it. So anyway, just FYI, if you're ever able to get some of that, do yourself a favor, pay the man, right? Whatever it costs, go ahead and pay it, because you're not going to be disappointed. So I happen to be able to come on someone who had several sets of it, and was able to swap him out a few different things that he was very, very gracious to me about it. And so now I'm pairing the King Billy pine with this Chechen. So the King Billy is very flexible for a top, very, very flexible. And this back, the Chechen, is a very stiff wood, which is one of the reasons why I am doing a live back. And so the idea here is to try to compensate for the various types of material that I'm using, and it's working. So this is going to be a great sounding guitar. So, for those that might be wondering, my braces are 10 mils wide. They start at 10 mils wide. They're 16 mils tall in the middle. Same for these, 10 mils wide. These are winding up at about 15 mils tall when I'm finished with them. And then, so then I do the scalloping and steepling as well. You know, a lot of factory-built guitars will not steeple the braces like this. Some of them will. Many of them don't. They just, especially your cheaper end guitars, they're just simply going to have something that is very, very thick, bulky, no refinement, hardly. And then your guitar sounds like a cigar box, basically. But anyway, so this is one of the reasons why I spend as much time as I do on the braces. These guys here are getting in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and scallop these out, because otherwise I'll be here all night trying to work on them. And you know, just a quick little statement here. I had some extra brace timbers and stuff like that set aside, and so this guitar, I was just using up a few different pieces. These two right here are from the same board, and these two are from the same board. These two here have scalloped off very, very easily, and this one here, it is a very dense timber. So just bear in mind that just because it's the same species does not mean that it is the same strength, density, etc. So you have to compensate for that as a builder as you go along. Especially when you're working with tone woods. just got that down to about the right height for what I need it for. The reason why I started doing that was I was bumping my hand every time I went through with the plane trying to carve this brace. So by removing this material, it's going to make it much easier to finish carving the other brace. Notice the difference in the timber. This one here is carving so much easier. It's almost like going through butter. So much easier. Now by doing that, that should make it so much nicer for me to be able to come through and finish carving off this brace. Alright, so on this one here, we're considerably a different distance because we have the lower bout. It's a much bigger surface area. So what we're doing now, basically what we want to do, and maybe you can see this on this, you might see that I've got a line drawn around the side. That represents the outside of the guitar. Basically what I'm doing is I'm coming in about 65 mils off of that line. Okay, so from there at about 65 mils, that puts us right about there, which winds up in this case being off of the center line almost 125. So I was going to say about 120, so 125. And we may bring it on back that extra 5 mils, but we'll give it a second. We'll start off there and then move our way back. So from the center or from this edge, if we mark 65 mils back, it puts us right there. And yep, that's right at it. Okay, so I think if you were to measure these out, you'd find that these are, that one's 60, that one there's another 60. So by the time we get this one done at 65, we'll be sitting really nicely. And as we move along, if we need to refine these a little bit more over time, we can. It's not the end of the world. And we adjust as we need to, so. I will do a little bit more refinement on that one in the next day or so, but for now, we'll call that one good. Finish off these other little braces right here. And we'll take that one down to height. Spot on. Just exactly where I was wanting it to be. Finish off the steeple. And we'll refine these scallops just a little bit. Okay, last one. This one is also, like I said before, it's wanting to peel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn and go the other direction. Should give us a little bit better outcome. Also, I think it could be that this piece is slightly off the quarter sawn, which means that the actual grain of the timber is on a slant. And so because of that, it wants to peel out certain ways rather than simply carving away on a nice angle. But there's a way around it, so we'll do that and keep moving. Keep moving forward. Bring it down to height. Just a touch more. And that'll be right where I need it to be. And then clean up this steeple a little bit more. And I'll do one last thing on these scallops because they are a little bit big. A couple of these are just a little bit thick on this end of the scallop. And then, last but not least, clean this up with a little bit of sanding. There we go. And folks, that's it. That's how we carve the braces on the backs of the guitars. And show you one other thing I've been doing today. This goes right along with this guitar. So this is actually the back, and I've got the top gluing up over right now on the go bar deck. So let me just release that from here for just a second. So that's our back, and that's how we have it brace now. So that's going to be a live back. Beautiful, isn't it? And then just over here, I have got, let me flip this around so you can see it. We have the top. So I've just glued all these braces on here today. These are our falcate bracing, and it's a really, really good way to brace your guitar. Sounds amazing, and it's very, very strong. And so this is the falcate bracing pattern, and this is our King Billy top. How good does that look, eh? All right. Thanks for watching. I know this is a bit of a longer video, more so than our other ones, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.